What to do when your boyfriend cheats on you. So first of all, I'm really, really sorry. I think if you're watching this video, that means this title stood out to you. And I can't imagine why this title stood out to you besides the fact that you have just found out that your boyfriend has cheated on you. And that's why you're on YouTube University trying to watch these YouTube videos, trying to figure out what to do about it and how to make yourself feel better, how to make the pain go away. And to have been cheated on is such an excruciating thing. And I know because I've gone through this, and this entire video is going to be about me talking about my experience and what I did, and that's what I would recommend to others as well. Being cheated on was so painful for me. It was just devastating, really. I had not had to experience it. I've only been cheated on once, and it was really painful. At least for me, it was extremely painful. And so I know, of course, some of my friends who have been cheated on who didn't feel it as strongly as I did, but for me it was. And so if you're going through this right now and you're really hurting, I really get that. And I hope that you find some solace in that there are a lot of other people who have experienced this as well. When I thought about restarting my YouTube and kind of in this series, I've been making videos every day for the last four days. All I really wanted was to share value, and these values have been from all different realms of my life, so that's why the topics have been all over the place. But I really wanted, my one North Star was, how can I bring value to people on the internet, people I've never met, but I know that I have some really unique lived experiences, and I wanted to bring that to life and talk about it. And this video is for you. So you really don't need to hear the details, but long story short, I was with a guy exclusively when it was early pandemic. He actually lived with me in my house full time for about a month and a half. And then he went back to his home city, and then we had a long distance relationship. And essentially during that time when he had gone back to his home city and we didn't live together anymore, it was still the pandemic though, but this was before the vaccines were out. He had a whole second girlfriend, and that was the version of cheating that happened to me. So the first thing I want you to do is to collect all of your belongings from your boyfriend's place. Get all of your stuff back. You don't ever want to be in a position where later down the line you realize there's something that you really want back that you can't get back, or that, so if they refuse to give it back, or if it's just been too long, you won't want to talk to this person anymore, you can't get back at the end of the day. So get all of your stuff. I technically didn't have to go through this myself because I had no stuff at my boyfriend's house and he had none of his stuff at my house. So we were already just clean. So I went straight to number 2, which is break up with him immediately. You could do this over a text. It could be really simple and really quick. I think a text would be just fine. This is really straightforward for me. I would not consider any other alternative. I would leave, I would get out of there. I don't want anything to have to do with him ever again in my life. I would break up. I would not want to stay together. And I don't care if he feels remorse or, what it is, that if there's like post-processing and he wish he hadn't done it and all the stuff, I frankly just don't care. If he actually had any integrity, then he wouldn't have done what he did. And yeah, I think it's really straightforward. So now that you've got your stuff and you've broken up with him, then comes the possibility of having a closure talk, or just a talk, or some sort of closure, or how you're gonna end this sort of officially and move on. You're the only person who can give yourself the closure that you really need. So I would actually not recommend having a closure talk at all, because my perspective is that you should cut off contact with this person immediately and forevermore. So the less you can see or talk to this person, the better it is for you. I think that's going to help you heal the fastest. So I would not recommend having a closure talk. I think having a closure talk only works when you have been in a really fulfilling relationship and you both decide to part, but you're in a really good relationship with each other, in relation to each other, and you wish the best for this person, and perhaps you would even be friends continuing going forward. I think those are the only relationships that having a closure talk works. Now, with that said, I did in fact have a closure talk with my ex, this one that cheated on me. I don't think it was really a closure talk because I wasn't seeking closure from it. And I think that's a really key distinction, because I think if I had in fact wanted something from him anymore, such as closure, then it would have really changed the conversation. So for context, my ex actually asked to have this meeting with me, this one final talk, and I said yes, because I entertained it. And you know, because I didn't really care, I really could have also said no. I think it would have been fine. I don't know how, if I would have felt differently now if I hadn't gone versus, in fact, I did go.
It really does not impact you when you get closure. You're not going to feel any better or worse. It's not going to make an impact. So please focus on getting closure for yourself by yourself.
So now that you've fully walked away from this relationship, let's talk about how we can get you to heal faster. So one of my top recommendations for everybody really is to go to therapy. I have a few videos talking about this already, how to find a good therapist, how to know your therapist is good, but I would go to therapy. So therapy was single-handedly the most helpful thing for me in my healing in the aftermath of this. So I went to therapy about 3 times a week, actually, in the aftermath of this. I went to a lot of therapy. And it worked for me. It was really important for me to go to all these sessions. And it seems like a lot. 3 times a week of therapy. And I did that maybe for about a month and a half, even 2 months. But that was what I needed. And that was maybe goes to show how painful it was for me. But I did end up going to that much therapy. Anybody's healing journey is never linear. So what it might look like for you in therapy, or just if you're talking with your friends, you might be crying and devastated and completely broken for weeks on end. And you need to be crying and ranting and doing all these things every time you speak to anybody. That honestly was a little bit of me, but I tried not to do it with my friends. I did do it in therapy a lot. And then I would have a period where I felt a lot better and I wasn't crying, I wasn't ranting, I was feeling a lot better. But then maybe a few weeks from there, I would go back to the whole, I needed to be crying every day. I needed to, be letting out these emotions. So just be really kind to yourself. And I don't know if you have an expectation of how you're intending to be or acting, or I just want you to know that if you are indeed crying every other day and so on and so forth, that is what I went through as well. The second thing I would recommend is asking people to check in on you. So for me, I asked my therapist and my friends to check in on me, because actually after I found out that my boyfriend cheated on me and we broke up in this whole thing, I developed a eating disorder. So I could not eat. I don't know if I should probably take that back. I don't know if it would be officially called an eating disorder. But I really could not eat, and I lost a lot of weight, and I basically just forced myself to eat whatever I could. And so sometimes I would have like a boba in the whole day, and boba is awful for you. It's very sugary, there's a lot of calories, but that was just what I felt like having, and I let myself have it because I knew that if I didn't have it sounds so bad, it's kind of giving me like a little whiplash thinking about this experience. I would just not be eating that day. So I would just let myself eat whatever the heck I wanted to eat, which ended up being a lot of desserts and just really bad junk food for you. But I had a net calorie deficit. So anyways, I might talk about this in a different video, but my therapist would check in on me in regards to that. And so I remember that was helpful because it did put pressure on me to take care of myself. I think if she hadn't put a focus on that at the beginning of our session every time, and I didn't feel that pressure, I don't know what I would have done, but it was not good for me. I was going through a really hard time. The second way that people can check on you is having your friends check on you. And that is awesome. And I think I would tie this a little bit to doing your adult hobbies and finding new hobbies and how to enjoy being single. I'm going to have a video about this, but distracting yourself as much as you can, honestly, which I don't know if that's like officially what people would recommend, but that's what I would recommend because I know breakup hobbies are a real thing. As much as you can spend time distracting yourself, doing something physically, going to a workout, doing pottery classes, whatever it ends up being, talking to somebody could also be one. I think that's going to be helping you. So one last thing about getting closure for yourself. For me, I actually ended up going to something called a cord cutting ceremony. If you're not familiar, you can Google this, and there are a ton of websites and blogs online that show you how to do this on your own. They're essentially visualizations that you walk through of how you can cut your cord with your ex, and their energy is no longer meshed with your energy. I ended up not doing this on my own, thankfully. I just actually hired a Reiki master to do it for me. My Reiki master ended up taking me through my cord cutting ceremony, and I loved it. I thought it was really healing. It's kind of a little bit out there, but you know, I like lying on my Reiki master's therapy bed or massage bed and having crystals put on my shoulders, and it's kind of fun in a weird way. But yeah, it was something that for me, I interpreted a lot more emotionally, giving yourself that experience. If you're envisioning you have cords attached to your ex, what you do in the ceremony is you then visualize yourself cutting it. There are obviously no actual cords connecting you and your ex, but for the purpose of this exercise, we're going to imagine that, and it kind of represents energy and attachment and all that good stuff, and you cut it. And for me, that was really healing for me, and I actually didn't end up doing it in the direct aftermath of what happened. I ended up doing it actually somewhat recently. So like about a year and a half after it happened was when I did my cord cutting ceremony. And I still really enjoyed it then. I really loved that it gave me the opportunity to really cut it for real in my mind. We have no cords, no energies attached. And again, I just thought, I think Reiki and cord cutting ceremonies are fun when you do it with somebody like a Reiki master and not having to do your own visualization at home with the directions of all these blogs and so on and so forth. To wrap this entire video up, at the end of the day, if I could go back to my hurting self in the direct aftermath of what happened and be able to tell her something, I don't know if really anything my future self would have said to my past self would really have made a difference in terms of accelerating my healing and taking away the pain. Unfortunately, I think I had to feel all those emotions and feel the pain and the sadness and the devastation to be able to let it go. But one thing that is in your favor is time heals everything. So please take care of yourself, reach out for help. You're doing great. You're doing the best you can. And even though the pain is so hard right now and you're really hurting, it's going to pass.